How did a major gap emerge in United's midfield during previous matches? The question now, has Amorim, in his first victory, managed to resolve those tactical dilemmas? United's win under Amorim raises numerous questions. A third match, a first victory in the Premier League this season, yet behind the result lie complex tactics, telling numbers and errors that cannot be ignored. All of this we shall break down in today's episode, an encounter defined by pure tactical nuance. Welcome back. Manchester United's tactical problem on the pitch, from my perspective, one that may not carry much weight for some, remains worth noting and discussing. We will soon see. Did these issues persist in the team's latest fixture against Burnley? Or has manager Amorim finally found the right solution? The 5-3-2 system relies on organisation in both the low block and the mid block. Yet, regrettably, we sometimes witness its application in the high block, raising serious questions. Imagine, this formation, first introduced by Glasner in the Premier League and later adopted by Amorim, has now become almost the default approach for most teams. This season, the reliance on the 5-3 system has become a defining feature, whether in the low block or the mid block. Any Premier League fixture lays this trend bare. The team defending will most often resort to this structure. Meanwhile, the mid-block, with 4 at the back, which we witnessed regularly last season, has gradually faded, particularly among the smaller and weaker sides. And here lies a crucial point, my dear reader. Those smaller and weaker teams, once they taste the sweetness of parking the bus with a 5-3 setup, cling to it firmly. The reason is obvious, and I have repeated it often. This system is perfectly suited to protecting the penalty area. Every player inside the box has one defender covering behind and another applying direct pressure. As a result, the box midfield loses its greatest strength. At this stage, a manager who relies on the box is compelled to reshape it into a diamond, just as we saw in Chelsea's recent clash with West Ham. And when the diamond faces a 5-3 system, one of two outcomes unfolds. Either the diamond manages to dismantle the 5-3 through numerical superiority in midfield, or the 5-3 strikes back with quick, devastating counterattacks capable of tearing the diamond apart. And here, my friend, if Amorim is set to face Guardiola's diamond, congratulations. The counterattacks will be lethal, as Guardiola's players struggle greatly with counter-pressing and protective defending, leaving them vulnerable to the pace and intelligence of the 5-3. This is precisely what we witnessed last season. But beware, the situation is entirely different if Amorim encounters Maresca's diamond. Why? Because Maresca's diamond has the ability to feed the ball into the number 10s in midfield, where numerical superiority is created and the outcome is often predictable. Even if you manage to dispossess them, you are far from safe. Maresca's diamond possesses a fearsome counterpress and protective defending, usually regaining possession before you can even think of launching a counter. But my friend, the real disaster lies elsewhere. The true danger is that when Amorim faces the bigger clubs, his plan often succeeds against the box midfield before he starts devising fresh solutions to challenge the diamond. The real problem emerges against mid-table or weaker sides, who make up almost 2/3 of the league. It is there that the true test begins, and it is there that every card is laid bare. At that point, you will find them standing calmly with the ball, waiting for you to step out of your 5-3 shape so they can press you. And because you are Manchester United, you will be compelled to press high and advance from your defensive zones. But here, the question writes itself. Once you abandon the comfort of your mid-block, will you adapt your system? Or will you cling to the 5-3 and attempt to press high with it? Let me share something small, yet crucial. Remember that you have fatigued players, such as Casemiro, who appear drained in every match. Therefore, if you intend to play with high pressing, you must take this reality into account. There are also other players lacking the full capacity to run and sustain continuous pressure, not to mention defenders who grow weary at the mere mention of high press or advanced defense. Consequently, I suspect you will persist with the same system and press high. But allow me, my friend, to tell you what will happen. The front three will transform into turbine, running relentlessly behind 4 defenders and their goalkeeper. Add to that the fact that Casemiro can no longer track the central midfielders, leaving Bruno to press alone. Here, the disasters begin, one after another, until the obvious truth emerges. The press will fail, and the team will revert once again to the mid-block. This, my friend, is the tactical conundrum that has accompanied Ruben Amorim since he arrived at Manchester United. Such a dilemma does not pass quietly. It produces a terrifying array of problems, varied and escalating, each one heavier than the last. One of those problems, my friend, is the catastrophic gap that emerges between United's forward line and midfield. This gap was clearly visible in the Fulham clash. The question now, will it recur against Burnley or not? In the opening minutes of the match and during the first pressing attempts, we see Amad Diallo on the same line as the front three. Here, it appears that United adopts a man-to-man pressing style and persists with this approach. Indeed, Burnley is forced to play long balls, and ultimately, United regains possession after the first pressing attempt. At that moment, I began to feel some optimism, thinking to myself, perhaps the high-pressure plan is starting to improve. However, unfortunately, after roughly 10 minutes, United's press gradually begins to fade, weakening more and more until the team finally falls back into the midfield with a 5-3-2 formation. But believe me, this is not the real disaster yet. Once United retreats, they begin to push forward again with the 5-3-2 system. For example, on this particular play, Bomu advances to press the centre-back, leaving the left-back unmarked. At that moment, the left-back and centre-back begin to play freely at Bomu's expense, until Cunha steps in to support and restore balance to the team. But what is the problem? Simply put, this means that the right-back on the opposite side becomes exposed as well. Thus, the team continues to swing from one flank to the other until Bruno is forced to advance to confront them. At that point, the ball is played to a central midfielder, who finds his teammate in midfield completely free, prompting Luke Shaw to step out and mark him. Throughout all this, the ball returns to the wing, then back again. Here, through individual effort alone from Mount, United managed to intercept the ball. So far, whenever a United player presses and is bypassed by an opponent, his teammate behind him immediately covers. To some extent, this can be considered a positive aspect. As time progresses, the forwards begin to tire from constant lateral movement. At this stage, the goalkeeper resorts to playing the ball directly to a central midfielder. Bruno and Casemiro then move up to press. The ball is passed back to the defender, then to the goalkeeper, ultimately resulting in a long pass under pressure. Finally, United's players succeed in regaining possession. Up to this point, the effort and performance of the players can be described as excellent, even if the pressing system itself is not the most suitable or effective. Yet, the tremendous work rate of all players enables them to cope with difficult situations, particularly after United scores their first goal. Their pressing becomes even more aggressive than at the start. At this moment, Diallo advances to confront Burnley's left-back, prompting Burnley for the umpteenth time to resort to long balls. But this time, unfortunately, the ball reaches midfield and a small gap begins to appear after Burnley's players recover the second ball. The ball is then played to the wing, ending in a cross that the defence manages to clear. Thus, it can be said that the first half was defensively very solid, indeed excellent on United's part. The XG opportunities were barely noticeable, amounting to roughly 2 shots, neither of which tested the goalkeeper. Forgive me, Mr. Amorim, I am but a humble observer, so continue as you are with your plan, and do not be swayed by the comments we heard at the start of the episode. At the beginning of the second half, as usual, United pushes forward from the mid-block using the 5-3-2 system. This time, the number 10 receives the forward pass and then plays it to the central midfielder. At this moment, we notice Casemiro, Mino, and Luke Shaw stepping out to press, yet the player still manages to pass the ball to the forward line. My friend, Rovo Football, didn't you tell us in the previous episode that Luke Shaw and Euro should continue to advance and show themselves behind the ball when it is received? Yes, my friend, the players step out to press, attempting to create chaos and unsettle the opponent, yet they fail to stop him before the pass goes behind them. Now, the players find themselves in an extremely difficult position, almost like man-to-man marking, but Casemiro, having looked to the ground, thought, "I will chase the ball, perhaps I can catch the attack." Indeed, every United player returned to defend. The attack ended, and the team temporarily overcame the problem. However, the issue, my friend, is that the balls do not pass unchallenged. Crosses are delivered, the defense comes under pressure, and then suddenly the equalizer arrives, as if no one understands how it happened. Importantly, everything I mentioned in the previous episode began to appear clearly, high pressing from the outset, even across the front three positions. Amorim has started implementing his instructions wisely, pushing forward and attempting to suffocate the opponent with continuous pressure. As for the large, frightening gap that appeared between the lines in the previous match, Amorim has already begun to address it. He is now giving clear instructions. Luke Shaw and Euro track the attackers and monitor their positions behind the opponent's lines. Yes, the pressing was not extremely strong, but that is acceptable. With time, it will improve. I feel I have forgotten something important. Yes, the great goalkeeper Ty Binder, who loved to catch the birds in the sky. Unfortunately, my friend, I had hoped to see a different approach from Binder this time. Yet, in truth, there was a noticeable improvement compared to the previous match. Instead of simply sending his long balls into the sky, he began, in a respectable number of attempts, to build play on the ground in a calmer and more organised manner. Take, for example, the 65th minute. Burnley pressed in a manner almost resembling man-to-man marking, while Euro and Luke Shaw were positioned on the flanks, exactly as we observed in the previous clip. Here, the route out of pressure appeared straightforward and simple. A short pass to Casemiro, who required neither turning nor complication. A single touch was enough to play the ball to Euro behind the striker. Unfortunately, instead of passing to Euro, Casemiro misdirected the ball and sent it out of play. A brief moment of confusion, yet one that cost the team dearly. While United attempted to rebuild the attack, the ball quickly found its way to Burnley's players. Then came the second goal, as if a painful blow struck at a sensitive moment. Thank you very much, Mr. Casemiro. Yes, it was a moment of admitting the mistake, and a moment of acknowledging responsibility. Perhaps I deserved criticism for that decision. But in any case, let us set this aside and move on to what is more important. Thank you very much, friends.